Welcome to the DIFC Unplugged Podcast. My name is Grisita Awa de Gracia, and I'm the Sector Head for Insurance and Reinsurance in the Business Development Department of the DIFC Authority. We have here with us today Mr. Andy Woodward, Regional Head for Middle East and Turkey for Lloyd's Dubai. Andy has 30 years of experience in the insurance sector and has worked in 4 countries in the Middle East since the 90s. So it's safe to say that he knows the region very well. Welcome, Andy.
Hello, everybody. As Grisita said, my name's Andy Woodward, and I've been with Lloyd's in the DIFC for just over 4 years now. Again, as Grisita said, I've been in the region for over 30 years now, and in fact, it's 40 years in the business now.
Oh, wonderful.
I think the best place to start is by saying that Lloyd's is not actually an insurance company. I always say the easiest way to describe Lloyd's is to think of the Mall of the Emirates. We're the mall. So I don't sell anything. It's the people in the mall that sell everything. And it's actually a really good comparison because just like if you go to the Mall of the Emirates, there's Carrefour selling everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then outside Carrefour, you'll have a little pop-up stand selling Yemeni honey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Lloyd's. Lloyd's has insurers selling the whole range of things. Mm-hmm. And we have people who just sell one or two specific things in a very specialized way. Mm-hmm. An extraordinary thing about Lloyd's is you have this mix of what we call syndicates, mm-hmm. which are like insurance companies, and you have brokers and you have cover holders. It's the most extraordinary ecosystem. Mm-hmm. That's why over the years, Lloyd's has historically been the source of so many firsts in the industry.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, Andy, and for clarifying what Lloyd's exactly is. Now, as you are one of the most highly regarded names in the insurance industry and clearly have played a pivotal role in the evolution of the global reinsurance industry, can you tell us more about what your unique role is and give us some snippets about what exactly Lloyd's does as a marketplace?
Sure. So within the DIFC, we are a collection of about 15 different types of underwriting organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And we focus very much on commercial insurance. Mm-hmm. So everything from energy through property, through liability insurance. And that's very much what Lloyd's is historically about. We are very much a commercial insurance market.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good collection of entities that work within the Lloyd's community and the DIFC. Now, we are very, very pleased that you have a regional base here in this region through the DIFC, and you've been here for a decade now, working in such a growth environment. Now, could you share some of Lloyd's priorities in Dubai and the opportunities that exist in the near term?
Well, when we set up here, the DIFC was very much about the GCC. It was about the UAE, it was about business in this region. And I think what's really exciting for us is the way that that has evolved, very much in line with what the government is trying to do with DIFC, that increasingly what we're seeing is not just business from around this region. We're seeing business coming in from Africa. We're seeing business coming in from South Asia. We're seeing business coming, frankly, from just about everywhere in the world. That's really, really exciting. The Middle East is an incredibly vibrant place anyway. So what's driving our business is really there's 2 engines of growth. One is that you've got really strong economies in this part of the world with leaderships that are really focused on growing their economies. And you've got the increasing presence of DIFC as an international trading hub. Mm-hmm. So that means it's absolutely the right place for Lloyd's to be. We don't need to set up offices all over the region.
Mm-hmm.
By being in the DIFC, we are ideally placed to be on the receiving end of the business inquiries that are coming from increasingly an international market.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have seen Lloyd's, set up its first, regional base in the DIFC and accessing the market about 10 years ago. And it's always been an exhilarating experience, just engaging with the market players and you coming up with a lot of initiatives as well. So thank you so much for sharing those, plans and future agendas for the region through our center. And I must say that it has really been, ever evolving. I really appreciate that Lloyd's is doing its best in terms of, servicing the market and all the other markets that you would want to penetrate in the future as well. Now, I know that Lloyd's has a very serious and ambitious agenda when it comes to innovation and supporting that, initiative through your Lloyd's Lab. How is this work helping accelerate change in the industry?
Well, you mentioned the lab, which is not a lab, obviously, in a traditional test tube sense.
Mm-hmm.
Lloyd's established the lab to encourage tech startups. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned earlier this sort of, this intellectual ecosystem within Lloyd's. So what happens is people apply to the lab. Mm-hmm. And if they are successful, they then get mentored by practitioners, not tech practitioners, but insurance practitioners in the market. Mm-hmm. Now, that is what has made it so unique. Because whatever the nature of your tech startup, you are going to find someone in the world of the Lloyd's market who will be able to help you in a very practical sense develop your idea and your concept. And what we're seeing now is we're seeing people coming out of the lab with a very strong interest in setting up in the Middle East.
Wow.
So I think we've currently got 3 people from the lab either already here or in the process of setting up. And that is incredibly exciting.
Indeed.
Incredibly exciting. And it's very much in line with something else that we were briefly touched on. What people are learning is that it's no good being in London waiting for the business to come to you there. If you want to write Middle East business, you've got to be here. Mm-hmm. And if you're not here as a Lloyd's underwriter, it'll just go to somebody else who is here. Mm-hmm. And that's been a sea change over the last 4 years, is that more and more people in London are showing a lot of interest in coming out here.
Now, that is a good point that you've mentioned there. And that allows me to transition to the question that I have for you, which is all about talent. So I want to understand from you, because the DIFC is home to a workforce about 44,000 people and the biggest pool of financial services talent in the region. Now, how are you nurturing talent in the industry? I mean, apart from, of course, this initiative, any thoughts?
Well, let's be fair. If you ask anybody in the DIFC, in our business, and I think it's probably the same in every other business, talent is the single biggest problem. Mm-hmm. I mean, our market grew by, the insurance market in DIFC grew by 30% last year, and what was it, 27% or something the year before. Mm-hmm. Now, and you've got an incredible pipeline of people lining up to come in. Mm-hmm. And the question that faces everybody is, how on earth are we going to resource that with the right people?
Yes.
Especially because very few people here have got the bandwidth to be able to take new people fresh out of university and train them up.
Yeah.
That's just a reality. Most of the businesses here are quite small. What's really helping that is that Dubai is no longer, when I first came to the Middle East all those decades ago, the Middle East was typically somewhere where you came for 3 or 4 years, made a bit of money, tax-free, and then you went home. Mm-hmm. That, at least as far as the UAE and Dubai is concerned, that has completely changed. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that is down to the work that the government has done. Mm-hmm. It's down to the work that people like yourselves have done to make this an incredibly attractive place to live and work. So there is a huge amount of interest in the market in London. Young people are constantly asking about Dubai as a place to live. Mm-hmm. So I think you remember there's something called the Under 35s Club in London?
Yes.
I've done a couple of sessions with them specifically about what it's like to live and work in the UAE. And I think the last one I did in London, there was like over 100 people in a room about the size of this. Mm-hmm. All asking a lot of very pointed questions about living and working in the UAE.
Mm-hmm. And now that you've touched upon that, I just wanted to ask from you, what is it that you say to them from the get-go about living in Dubai or having a career in Dubai through the insurance sector?
you've got to be very careful because, as you know, I mean, it's like everywhere else. It's not all sunshine and playtime. You're away from your family. You're away from your friends. And people have to be aware of that. If you choose to up sticks and come to somewhere like Dubai, you are creating a new life. And it's a very exciting life. It's a great life, but there's a downside to it. So you've got to be careful to make sure that you're balanced about this. But what you can say is you're coming to a place where there is very low crime, where the government has gone out of its way with things like the golden visa and changing the working week. But not just that, it's small stuff. There's hundreds of kilometers of cycle tracks now.
Yes.
You've got a fantastic education system. You've got a fantastic healthcare system. So it's a great place for young professionals to come and live and work. And the other thing is, I mean, this is a place where if you work hard, anything is possible.
Yeah, definitely there is a reward.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Andy. I really appreciate you making this, this chance for us to have this candid chat. And thank you again to our team for coming up with this podcast session. That concludes the DIFC Unplugged podcast, and have a great day.